Define and defend our position. We offer analysis and pose solutions to the problem that we face in the African American community. And we also present you with a form of leadership, vox populi. As they say in Latin, the voice of the people. Welcome to the show. Call somebody, because here we're screaming loud and sparing none. Do we have a call?
You got your call. Go ahead, call.
How you doing, Mr. How you doing, Mr. Redd?
What's going on, Alan?
Let me ask you a question, because Dr. Isaac Richard is a smart man. Cause I did a self-examination on my own self about, like he referenced John Kennedy said, when man is in charge of God's business while you're on the earthly land, and a lot of times we pray, and we want to die and pray, go to heaven, but man is in control of God's work. Because he was referenced John F. Kennedy. I was listening to him. I'm going to give you a good example of something about the African American community, even myself. It's a black newspaper in Memphis. You know the name of it, right?
No, tell us.
Yeah, the New Tri-State Defender.
Okay.
Yeah, they give out free papers sometimes. They give it out at the library, and we talk about the other newspaper, the commercial appeal. I never received a commercial appeal that was free. So we always go and find our facts from the people that are against us.
Okay.
Like the New Tri-State Defender, they give them free papers, and most people don't subscribe.
Hey, Alan, do you have a question or comment? I've got my guests here. They're ready to go.
Okay.
What's your question?
That mindset that we have to love ourselves and embrace ourselves and
Okay.
support everybody but ourselves.
I think we all agree with that. Hold on for a second. Brother Jabril, respond to the brother.
Well, the Tri-State Defender, New Tri-State Defender is trying to get back up off the ground. They haven't had the kind of success in the past that they wishing to do, to have. But going forward, I think if they've always given out, within the last couple of years, they've always given out free papers. If certain companies sponsor so many, a volume of so many, let's say Coca-Cola, if they buy a lot of maybe 500, then they're able to give those away.
Okay.
It's just a marketing strategy.
A marketing strategy. Keyword marketing strategy. Dr. Talut, you want to shed some light on that subject, or you want to go forward?
Let's move forward.
Let's move forward. Anyway, in the studio, we have with us Brother Jabril Shabazz from the Marcus Garvey Institute and Learning Center. Keyword learning. I love those keywords. Learning. Located at Lauderdale and Parkway. Remember the Honorable Marcus Garvey raising the question, where are your schools? I love saying this. Jabril stood up and said, here's one right here.
Yes, sir.
Right here. And Brother Dr. Talut El-Amin, he said, let's move forward.
Yes,
and I totally agree. But first I want to say just a few things about Sister Desi X, located at 975 Thomas Street, at the House of Knowledge. Knowledge, everybody. She has pre-class 3, 4, and 5-year-old students who operate at the 1st and 2nd grade level. Give her a call. Take your children, your niece, your nephew, your grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren by there, 901-275-917. We want to thank Brother Omar Memra and his wife, Sister Muslima, for crisscrossing the country and building a network that will sustain and help support trade and commerce. Is that right, Brother Talut?
That's right.
Trade and commerce. Now I want to say something about my good friend Alan. A BIA tree and tire service. Bad tire, he says, I'll come to you. Mobile tire service as well. Used tires. Brother Alvin Walker, right there at Shasta in Hollywood, 503-5762. Brother Alvin Walker, 1211 North Hollywood. Best prices in town, he says. Go by and test him out and see if what he's saying is true. Also, I want to say just a word or two about my friend Milton. On the spot, used tires, fix a flat. 2 locations to serve you. 1684 Getwell at 2127 Elvis Presley. Give him a call and say, I'm on my way. 859-8755. I want to say that you can view our program also on YouTube as well, AM 1600 WMQM. And now I want to go, as I said, we're going to be talking about Booker T. Washington. And I want to go to Brother Jabril first. But Brother Jabril, it's something that stands out when I think about Booker T. It stands out to me and when I read about him. And that is, cast your bucket down where you are. Or up, and not only that, up from slavery.
Surely.
Take us further.
Now, that was Booker T. Washington's autobiography, Up from Slavery.
Right.
But let me say this here first before
Yes.
we get into the meat of Booker
Yes.
T. Washington's legacy. I was at a conference at Booker T. Washington High School in Memphis back here about 4 years ago. And they had the 11th and 12th graders in the library. There was a guy who wrote another biography on Booker T. Washington from the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. And he gave his dialogue about, you know, the Booker T. Washington, his biography and everything, and about the man. But he asked the audience, you know, how many of you all have read the autobiography of Booker T. Washington? If I put my hand up, it would have been 2 people in there. Three. It would have been 3 of us.
Okay.
Now, one of them was a historian and scholar.
Okay.
The other one was a librarian, and if I had put my hand, it would have been 3
Okay.
out of all the students.
Right.
And we talking about roughly 300 students in that library.
Yeah. I
And never
understand.
read
I understand.
the autobiography of Booker T. Washington, Up from Slavery.
I understand.
Now, that to me is asinine. I mean, how you going to have a school
Yes.
named after a person of that character and that status and stature, and you going to that particular school as a student and never read the message from this particular person? I can't equate it.
It's apparently a default in leadership. But some years ago, you were on a program, Jabril,
Okay.
and I heard you saying that, you know, talking about Booker T, and that a lot of people are now starting to pay more attention to Booker T. You know, he had that squad with a lot of leaders.
Sure.
And Du Bois was one of them. And Du Bois, we say
Yeah,
Du Bois.
sure.
I was studying a course in American history over at Southwest,
Okay.
maybe a little over a year ago. I made the same statement, that a lot, because the instructor, he mentioned Du Bois,
Sure.
W.E.B. Du Bois.
Right.
And I said, well, you know, a lot of people are now starting to look closely at Booker T. And he disagreed by saying that, no, they're looking at W.E. Du Bois. And so, go ahead.
Du Bois was the so-called intellect of the day at that time. Now, Du Bois became jealous of Booker T. Washington because of the speech he made in Atlanta at the World's Fair, I believe.
Exposition?
Exposition.
Right.
And Booker T captured the audience there. And the majority of the audience were white people. Booker T also got invited to the White House behind that. And kind of left Du Bois and his cohorts, you know, NAACP and other groups, left them kind of dingling in the wind somewhat. You know, and that jealousy is the reason that these 2 brothers couldn't get together at the Niagara Convention.
Right.
Because of that split. You know, Du Bois was an intellect. Booker T. Washington was the kind of person who was nuts and bolts. He was about the economy and the sociology of black people in the South. You know, gaining some kind of respectability as it relates to business and economics.
Right.
Because
no, go ahead.
because you know, Tuskegee was built by the hands of black men. Most of the materials that were used in the building structure was milled, and the sawmills are owned by black folk and owned by Tuskegee.
Right.
So you know, when you look at, you know, then and now in comparison, Booker T had an economic program, more so than an intellectual one.
Well, that's going to be the next question I want to go to Dr. Talut here. And he had, in that speech, he talked about self-reliance and industry. And I know that's, we all have our main thing that we talk about that we're interested in going forward. And I know trade and commerce is a big, and which I agree with you, and a part of that would be industry and self-reliance, wouldn't it, Doctor? Go ahead.
Trade and commerce is the practical side of economics. But what we have done as black people, we interchange the words. We say economy, but we're really talking about, pardon me, we say economics, but we're really talking about trade and commerce.
Okay.
Okay, economic is the efficient use of commodities and products. Okay, that's economics. Okay, but Booker T. Washington, of which the Booker T. Washington High School is my alma mater. Okay, and I'm happy to be able to discuss some things about Booker T. Washington.
Right.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, he was a practical man. Okay, he didn't expound in intellectual things. He was a hands-on guy. Okay, and basically, we are today in the same position as we were during his era. Okay, so the message would be the same to us today. Messages and ideas don't get old.
Right.
They are not fad. They are not fashionable. Okay, they are historical. Okay, so the application of Booker T. Washington's message is needed more so today than any other time because of the technology. Okay, the power of the technology. But nevertheless, he was a man that wanted, his message to us, partner, was to use your hands. Do what you can do. Okay, but the intellectuals, they wanted the message to be in relationship to what the white man was doing.
Okay.
Okay, the big thinking, the big ideas, the great grandiose concepts of the day and time.
Well,
Okay, but Booker T. Washington wanted us to pick up certain trades. Okay, learn to do things and grow from there.
right. Now you mentioned excellence. And in the autobiography, the author was talking about how he walked so many miles and he got this job working for this sergeant and I guess the sergeant's wife, and they had him doing things, bathroom and all that. And it said Booker T cleaned the place so good, no one could find anything wrong with it. So finally, now this is me talking, they had to send for God. God came down and God said, I can't find nothing.
Right.
Nothing. Booker T. Washington. Brother Jabril, is Alan still on the line, Super J?
Yes.
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Compare for us your institution, your great institution, Marcus Garvey Institute. We're talking about great men, men of honor, excellence, that's how we put it. Tell us about the way in which you see your institution relative to Booker T. Washington and your goals and objectives.
Well,
Going forward.
I don't see our institution no different from Tuskegee.
Okay.
You know, the reason I say that is because the work ethics of Booker T. Washington is one of those things that's permeated through the days, through the years, you know, into Booker T. Washington was such a figure that Marcus Garvey was so interested in him.
Yeah.
They communicated through letters
Absolutely.
before Marcus Garvey came to the United States.
Absolutely.
The only reason Marcus Garvey did not meet him is because he died 1 year before Marcus Garvey set foot in America.
That's the way history has it. Go ahead.
But that combination of philosophies of Marcus Garvey and Booker T. Washington is very much so prevalent in our institution, which is Marcus Garvey Institute and Teaching Academy, you know, and other schools around the U.S., around America, that's named from Marcus Garvey. Now, we know Tuskegee is one of those institutions that was talking about what Brother Talut was talking about, is how to, see, the dynamics in the South was different in those days. You know, you could be intellectual and be on the safe side, but if you trying to work up from slavery, then nobody have the skills but the slaves coming out of slavery. So they were skillful people. So Booker T was saying, let's take this here and make it work in our community so we can create everything we need from these skills that we have: carpentry, plumbing, stonemasonry, sawmilling, all those trades that come into the building aspect of how you build things. You know, this is what Booker T was about. That transferred all the way to Booker T. Washington under Black T. Hunt. You know, back in the day, Black T put a lot of those what we call career educational sources in place over there. You know, such as shoe repair, mechanics, carpentry, plastering, painting, brick mason. Black T Hunt put all those things in Manassas. Now, Manassas was the first city high school. I mean, not Manassas, but Booker T. Washington. You know, but Manassas was the first school in the county.
Okay.
That's how come they don't know which one was first. You know, that's where the fight came out. But Booker T. Washington was a city high school that had these things, and those things worked all the way up until about the '60s. Then all of a sudden they started trimming down.
Yeah.
And they took a lot of those, you know, even Carver, where I attend, that had a few of them, wood shop, mechanical drawing, maybe in metal shop, and that's the extent of what we had.
Yeah.
But Booker T had a variety.
Yeah, I know.
of,
now I can recall. I graduated from Douglas High School in 1966, and just like the brother said, that those things are needed today. And I remember mechanical drawing, drafting, shop, all of those practical things that really meant something then. They mean something today. So you know, and I always talk about home economics. That was sewing and all that. You know, so we have to ask the critical question and begin to look at this.
But you know, another thing that
what has happened?
Caveat to that.
Go ahead.
Is that this is how we become self-sustaining, through careers that we can certificate ourselves in. You know, we don't. You know, once you are certified in a certain field, then that qualifies you to be able to do for yourself. You know, you get a license and you become a masonry, a brick mason, or stone masonry, or you to get a license. You're already certified because you did the necessary work academically to become certified. Once you're certified, then you can offer your service to this open society.
Right.
See, and that's what make a person sustain. Right. That's what changed the dynamics of economics and sociology in our community, where you don't have no poor people.
Gotcha. Another quick question. In his National African American Business League, and he talked about that, and also he talked about independence from the sharecropper economic system, and coming in terms of which we've already talked about, from the sharecropper system. I don't see how anybody could, intellectual or not, Du Bois or not, could talk about having a problem with someone, Booker T or otherwise, breaking away from the sharecropper economic system and developing your own. Dr. Talut, go ahead.
Which exists right today. Okay, nothing has changed. Okay, but the key to our success as a people lies in our ability to step into our garages, our kitchens, and create from our own minds, with our own hands, create products and commodities that we can introduce into our marketplace, and our marketplace is in our neighborhoods. Okay, so there has to be a first step to enter the broad world of trade and commerce, and I think that's the first step, and that's right in line with the thinking of Booker T. Washington. Okay, and we cannot divert from that. We have to become creative. We have to take our hands that God gave us, and see, God gave the hands for you to produce with. Not to just eat with, but to produce with.
To produce something to eat with.
Right, absolutely. These 4 fingers and thumbs, or 8 fingers and 2 thumbs,
right, and
can
also
do miracles.
Now what about also doing a little planning too?
And planning too. You use these. So my point is this.
Okay.
My point is, stop relying on the white man's world for our existence.
Okay.
Create our own world.
Is he imaginary?
He's imaginary. Forget him. Create your world. Go in your kitchen. Go in your garage. Go in your basement. Go in your backyard. Create something and make it marketable and bring it out to us, and we're going to buy it.
Okay. One quick observation. Hold on, Alan. I'm coming to you. One quick observation. Booker T. Washington organized a clandestine piece of work that he did with lawyers that took a look at cases of Jim Crow. So he was doing 12 books.
An array of things.
printing press companies, underground work, and sometimes we have to do that. You know, sometimes we, instead of running out hollering about, we get ready to do this, I'm going, and Booker T was on the ground clandestine with a group of lawyers, challenging and looking at Jim Crow laws and that particular system. I'm so excited I'm getting my tongue twisted. Brother Jabril, talk about that.
You know, Booker T, you know, the people in the community of Alabama at that time, you know, they noticed something about Booker T. Washington. Is that, you know, when Sunday came, he didn't go to church, you know. And that was a protest that stirred up around the people who had children in Tuskegee. And they was complaining about, you know, here's a man that's supposed to be an educator, but he don't go to church. So they saw that as conflict. Well, Booker T just casually told them, say, look, you know, there's things in that Bible that you must read. See, Booker T knew at that time that most of the majority, 95% of the people in our community couldn't read or write. Because coming up from slavery was against the law. So he's saying, the reason I don't go to church per se is because I study the book. You know, when you at church, I'm in my home studying the book. So that's probably what, you know, what they didn't understand. But you know, when it came to the program that Booker T was putting together, Booker T was putting together for long term.
That's right.
Booker T was putting a program together that would last over the centuries.
Long term
this kind of thing. Definitely. Right. You know, like getting back to what Brother Talut was saying, is that, you know, having a service-oriented blue-collar trade that you can market it into the open economical system. This is how you sustain yourself. Because there are needs in the community for commodities, at the same time for service. Now, if I know how to come in here and wire this building, you see what I'm saying? That's a contract for me. But if I don't know how to do it, and you need that done,
that's right,
then I'm not the person to do it.
Yeah, you're saying necessity.
Necessity.
Yeah, not only it breeds or creates inventions or production. Here's another thing I really like about Booker T and reading about him. That he inherited so much strength from his mother of character. And that he said that nothing would stop him from pursuing his education. And I love the way he pressed forward.
That's why he turned all the way to Virginia, to Tuskegee.
500 miles.
That's right.
And learned how to read. And he said that when he was going to one teacher, and he soon discovered that, hell, I know more than the teacher. But, Alan,
how you doing?
2 minutes.
Yeah, you was thinking about Booker T. Washington, and it doesn't remind me of Booker T. and his mindset, and I read about it all the time. A.C. Washington, he's a big component of Booker T. Washington, guaranteed. He was saying that let the whites be, let them do what they're supposed to do, let them create too. Then, like you were saying, like the people that's less educated, that the white would have empathy and sympathy and embrace you. That was what Booker T was about, and it would cause you a land of compromise, right?
Well, that was the exposition speech, but we've got 5 minutes. We're going to go to Dr. Talut and then to Brother Jabril.
Yeah, what we have to understand about our brothers of the past and
hold on,
sisters,
Alan, hold on.
we have to understand that that our brothers and sisters of the past did not equate their existence with what white people were doing. They were all about upward mobility. They was about moving 5 million people forward from slavery into the existence of life. They didn't have time to worry about what the other people were doing. Okay? So what we have to do today is apply the same principles. We have to look at this thing in a broader way. We have to understand that in order for us to compete in the world, we're going to have to drop off the imaginary white man. We're going to have to pick up our intellect, our knowledge of the world, and use that to enter into the real world. Most of us aren't in the real world yet. Okay, but we have to get there. And we have to understand that Almighty God has never let us down. We don't have to worry about anybody else. We just have to put one foot in front of the other. until we can enter into the real world. And the real world is trade and commerce.
Okay. Jabril.
You know, during the era of Booker T, you know, some of the people were so jealous. They were just ushering in the concept of NAACP. W.B. Du Bois was the president of the organization. They had Ida B. Wells.
I remember.
But the thing that they had asked her to do, it was against her principles. So she just quietly just resigned from, you know, being the top person of the NAACP. But in the whole workings of that whole NAACP, led by W.B. Du Bois, they are the ones who created the conspiracy around Marcus Garvey. You know, because of the fact that, you know, Marcus Garvey program was so progressive and it was catching on by the majority of black people in this country. You know, Marcus Garvey, before he got deported out of this country, you know, he had about 11 or 12 million followers. You know, it wasn't just no small thing. You know, and that right there overwhelmed the NAACP to the extent that they couldn't get their programs funded or get them attended to like they had thought of, I guess, you know, in the process of, you know, but the fact remains that the Black Star Line, they sabotaged it. They sabotaged the programs because they infiltrated the organization of UNIA, and they created the mail fraud thing. And the government came and arrested Marcus Garvey.
Right.
Yeah, because they felt like, you know, that he was somehow in violation of the law, you know, which he wasn't.
Right, and I know what you're going to say, Dr. Talut, that we see these kinds of things taking place today.
It happens all the time. It's nothing new.
But let me ask you about Booker T. And reading, especially the exposition in Atlanta, it kept jumping out at me as he was talking about this industry, vocational. It kept jumping out to me that maybe there are some things I can find that I don't like or perhaps agree with in terms of, well, I'm not going to go there about that Tom thing, but to me it seems like he was a man of reality, and today he would still be a man of reality.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the thing is it goes back to what I said initially. Ideas don't get old. Okay? They're not a fad.